So lots of people ask me a lot how to make your hair more volumized. I've got really flat, fine hair, and today I'm going to realise my ambition of getting the world's foremost enlarger of hair, my friend Moran, to teach us how she makes her enormous mane so bountiful. And here she is with her tricks of the trade, so she's going to talk us through how she does it.
I have to say, I feel very vulnerable. I kind of don't want you to look at me, I kind of don't want them to look at me because my hair is small now.
It's the smallest I've ever seen it in the years I've known you.
This is, I mean, even if I'm rained upon at a festival, I've usually backcombed it so much that there's usually a bit of residual kind of boof on top, but this is, I mean, this is practically down to the skull. It's a skull cap of hair.
It's still enormous compared to mine, but it's the smallest I've ever seen it without question.
Well, first of all, I must back your point you said before. You said I was going to be making my hair large. The technical term is embiggening. What we're going to be doing here is embiggening, and it's very simple. It takes less than 2 minutes, so you can do it in the dark. The only pieces of equipment that I use are some kind of dry shampoo.
Yes.
This one's dark, which is great because it knocks out grey roots at the same time, so it's 2 for 1.
I love Batiste dry shampoo and I use it constantly. These are also the tricks of my trade. However, do you find that the dark one gives you black bits on your face? Do you then just rub them off with the flannel, or what do you do?
You see, I mean, the thing is, by the time they would be sweating off onto my face, I've already had so much gin I wouldn't notice.
Yes,
I mean, that's a very massive possibility, but I try not to look in the mirror of any pub after about 9:30, so who knows what's going on here.
But it's good on the greys, I agree.
Yes, covers up on the greys and stuff, and also gives you more volume. And I use Elnet, whatever it says it has the most strength in, I go for that.
There is no other hairspray. There is no other hairspray.
Well, it's also the smell of good times. As soon as I spray that on, I already feel a bit drunk on the fumes. It's like kind of inhaling gin.
Yes.
It's the smell of good times. It's the smell of losing your virginity, covering up the smell of fags, although don't do them at the same time. When I used to live at home with my parents, I would kind of like use this as a pre-Febreze, but if you're doing that as you're smoking, boom, it can be quite dangerous. And then a comb. Now, I've recently invested in some nice combs that were over £3, but previously the one that I had was just one that I bought in a newsagent's in an emergency, and at the point where I finally threw it away, it only had 3 teeth left on it, but that was still better than once when I went to the Cheltenham Literary Festival. I was still drunk when I was packing and got there and realised that I hadn't brought a comb and I needed to backcomb, and I managed to do it with a fork. So I mean, you really can use anything to backcomb. Yeah, a twig, a squirrel's claw.
You're a huge believer in ratting, aren't you? You're
Yes.
a big ratter.
Yes. As what's her face in Hairspray says, Tracy Turnblad. Even our First Lady Jackie Kennedy rats her hair. So yes, you must rat your hair. So it's very simple. Basically, what you're trying to do is just make your hair slightly kind of dry and sticky and filthy. So you can either not wash it for 3 days or wash it and then put this in. Oh, this is like being on Blue Peter. I'm going to show you one I made earlier. And I just stick it in. I've no idea what the proper amount is. I like the fact that the room is full of a cloud now, but I do it until my skull feels numb.
Also, Batiste stops your hair smearing, which is another really good thing about it.
Well, it's Febreze, isn't it? It's just Febreze for skull. So that now my hair feels a bit more textured. And then simply just grab sections and just start backcombing it. And you start losing the sensation in your arms after about 30 seconds. So you just want to do it as quickly as possible. Okay. And also I tend to do it in I don't even know if that's the proper way to do it. I do it quite viciously.
Yeah, and you're doing big chunks.
Yes.
You're not doing little sections. You really go for it. You get massive fistfuls of hair, yeah?
Well, often when you go on television, like kind of when you have your makeup and hair done professionally, I'll go into television studios, for instance, that of Richard and Judy, and say, can you backcomb my hair? And they'll get a little metal comb and they'll take a tiny bit and just kind of do that for half an hour, and you're like, dude, no, like that's not the way to do it. Whereas when I went to America and I did the Today Show there, and they had a makeup artist there who was from the Midwest, and she did the best that's the only time that I've thought that my hair actually looked too big. And she was like, we have a saying in the Midwest that the bigger your hair, the closer to God. And she gave me hair.
Yes.
That clip's on YouTube now, and it's the only time I've looked at my own hair and thought that's actually too big.
Even by your standards.
Yeah, it looks slightly. I mean, it does block out everything else in that shot, but that's America. I supersize my own hair.
You're right up to the tips almost.
Yes. Well, why not? And I get to the side as well until I look like Thing from the Addams Family. Oh no, it's Cousin It, isn't it? Cousin It from the Addams Family, or Captain Caveman, and then you just kind of like wrestle it into shape. I mean, make sure the white streak's out, because I paid for that.
Yeah.
That's a dye job every 6 weeks.
You change your streak quite regularly, don't you? It's been different colours in the times I've known you. It's been more yellowy blonde, more grey, more white. You play with it a bit, don't you?
Well, that's, I mean, I'd like the fact that you think I ring in the changes, but that's simply from scuttiness and lack of maintenance.
Right, okay.
It should always be some fabulous kind of light, basically Blake Carrington's in Dynasty is the colour that I'm always going for. Robert Forster from the Go-Betweens used to go to hairdressers and ask for...
I was talking about Robert Forster only today, how timely.
He's a dapper man. So it's just down to how recently I've had it dyed. And then that is it. And you can just kind of massage it into shape. I mean, ideally I would have hair.
And then you're just kind of wrangling it with your hands.
Yes, and just kind of massage it into shape, into the ideal shape. And then obviously just turn it into a massive helmet with that.
Do you find when you're doing TV and people do your hair, do you find that you scurry off to the ladies before you go on camera and just mess with their shit?
They never do it properly. There's three things, whenever I do TV, there's three things they always do. First of all, they never make it big enough. Secondly, they'll always experiment with putting eyeliner right into there. And I'm like, I've known my face for a long time. If you do that, that will give the effect of a pig. And the third thing they do is they'll give kind of really, I can look like a very bad transvestite very easily, or like a kind of middle-aged whore from Howard's Way. And simply if you put too much brown eyeshadow on me, I will suddenly look like an old brasser working a classy hotel bar. So again, I'll just be kind of like 20 minutes before I go on air, just kind of just doing that, and that's the glamour of show business, really, licking your own eyelids with your thumbs.
No, I do it loads too. But yeah, backcombing, I just think they're always too puny about it. I imagine you don't get on with the standard backcombing. On
Well, they can never believe how much I want. I'm always like, think Winehouse and keep going.
Yeah.
I'll let you know, I'll knock it back an extra 2 inches. Like when bread's rising, if you sometimes have to knock it back a bit.
Exactly.
If it gets too big. But I mean, they very rarely make it too big.
As big as you can, and you can tame it down.
Yes.
So what are you doing with the lacquer?
I just stick on as much until my hand goes numb, really. I mean, until you go blind, until your contact lenses get sticky. Again, I've no idea how much you're supposed to put on. But I always think if you just keep going for a minute, and look, can you smell?
Yes. No, I'm smacked up right now.
Again, it's a bit like amyl. You just
it's
kind of
so nice though. It's the smell of posh nan to me.
Yes.
It's really sort of posh nan.
Yes.
Smell.
It's the smell that you might go out and have sex tonight. I've got my hairspray on now. I can now go out and find a man.
Absolutely. So once it's in, do you do anything with your hands, or are you just setting it?
Well, if I touch it, my hands will get stuck in it.
Yeah.
So it's now very much leave this alone for the next, there's a sort of like 20-minute exclusion then while it kind of very slowly sets.
And are you then taking this out with you
Yes.
for emergency backcombing?
In the back,
Hello, cat.
in the back pocket, as the Fonz does.
Nice.
Yes.
So would you just like nip into the loo, have a wee, and heighten again?
Yes, no, I mean, always check it. And sometimes if it's, if I know I'm going somewhere sweaty, take that with me as well. If you're going to go dancing, take that, take the dry shampoo in order to soak up the sweat.
What I don't understand is how your hair is in decent condition still with all the backcombing. You're doing something right. What are you washing and conditioning with it?
My one Ponzi product is Aveda. I use the Aveda shampoos, which seem to work really well for me, and put in as much leave-in conditioner as I can.
Yeah.
I put oil treatments on it all the time. Most of the time I've got some kind of oily thing on my hair. But I mean, one day it will just split right up the shaft. There will be one day where I wake up and I will see my entire hair on my pillow like a dead horse's head.
You sort of kind of like a foie gras, you sort of really pamper it all week, all the rest of the month, and then you just abuse it when you go out.
Yes, yeah, it only gets backcombed if I'm going out. The rest of the time it's in a little Aunt Flo from Bod style bunch on top of my head, being kind of put in storage for best.
So if you were on your way to school, for example, it would be tucked away?
Yes, underneath a hat or up in a bun or something. So this only gets brought out. Yeah, it's like the best china. It's brought out for special occasions. All the rest of the time I just simply eat with my hands off a table.
Excellent. Well, it's massive, and I reckon that took about 3 minutes. Thank you very much for showing us. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure, thank you.